Taiwan is certainly being talked about during the Ukraine war. Not in the way that you're talking about, there's always these comparisons about, oh, Russia's invading Ukraine. Does that mean China will invade Taiwan tomorrow? But there's so many different layers to that kind of rhetoric, right? To draw an outright comparison between Ukraine and Russia and Taiwan and China, it's a fallacy. Then you get caught up in that conversation where that's the only way we can talk about the war in Ukraine in relation to Taiwan. It's only the comparison. You lose out on a lot of important stories when you do that.
Welcome to Didn't Make the Cut. I'm your host, Eric Tai. Today we're going to be talking with Leslie Liao to talk about his trip recently to Poland and looking at Ukrainian refugees and the support of a little help from Taiwan. Leslie, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me, man. It's good to be here.
So, when people think about the war in Ukraine, people don't usually think about a place like Taiwan. You might think about aids coming from other European countries, allies, US maybe, or even the UN. For a small nation like Taiwan that's not even in the UN, people don't think about it. So why chase this story about Taiwan's help with the war in Ukraine?
Well, if you think about all the other comparisons that are being done, it's important to shine a light on some of the things that are happening that aren't getting enough attention. When it comes to the macro side of it, you see the money, you see like certain aid going forward, but how does this aid get from Taiwan to Poland into Ukraine? That's also one thing that we want to follow. It's about unsung heroes, Eric.
One of the stories that you did talked about a Taiwanese that was in Poland. People wanted to donate and knew that she was in Poland, and she was looking at how to properly divvy up the money because, as most people know, with charities or with any organizations or donations, there's always the fear that the money might not go where it was promised to be. Can you tell me a little bit about this unsung hero?
So Sophie and that's her name, Sophie, she's an incredible human being. I believe she moved to Poland 16 years ago after getting married to a Polish man here in Taiwan. And then she moved to Poland and she's been there. But since like day one of the war, she has been trying to figure out ways to help. She wasn't just a conduit for Taiwanese money going into Ukraine via Poland. She herself was doing a lot of this work. And a lot of people saw that. And then they saw that this as a more direct channel for their money to get into Ukraine. And she's incredibly diligent when it comes to researching what aid needs to go, where the money should go.
我在赞助一个人，我今天问别人不相干的，我说这个人是不是可以信任？
And after giving money, Sophie will follow up with Ostoya to see where the funds have gone and what else might be needed.
There's an element of trust for her from the sponsors, right? The sponsors kind of just give her the money, and then they trust her to disperse that money in the best way possible. And she realizes that level of trust is something very important. It doesn't come easily, and she's very careful about what she does. So every organization that we saw in Poland, we were actually introduced through by Sophie. She showed us some organizations that had some incredible stories, and these organizations, not only that, they also recognized Taiwan's contribution. Two of the organizations we visited, they flew Taiwanese flags. So she is coordinating all of this Taiwanese aid and how it gets from it goes into Poland. And I think this is a less official channel. But one of the things you realize in Poland, especially, when people helped out with the Ukraine war, it really started from just like a single person, a single idea, a single action, and it kind of grew. It just grew and grew and grew and grew. And then you think that they're doing incredible things. But anytime I ask them, how did you get started?
And suddenly somebody called me and told me, Rafał, we have on the rolling station 9 children from Ukraine. It's war start. Do you have the place in your hostel? And we said yes. And now we have 4,500 children in the camps, in the orphans' houses, at school.
The other one was a woman, and she was just like, I went to the border and I thought I wasn't going to be needed. But immediately 3 women asked for my help, and she realized that if she was a woman fleeing her country with their children without their husband, they'd feel much safer with a woman guide, a woman driver, and that's how the basis of her organization got started.
It dawned on me that if I was a woman without my husband in a foreign country, not speaking the language. There's a war in my country. I was my only child with a suitcase, cabin-sized suitcase, because that's all they were able to take. I would be terrified to get into a car with a man I don't know.
After her experience, Ella took to social media to rally women together.
Yeah, I just posted on Facebook that, girls, let's take the wheel. And they responded like crazy. The girls, grandmas, daughters, mothers, immediately they understood what it is about. That they put themselves in a position like this, and they knew that this is needed.
And that's how the basis of her organization got started. And that organization has like 2,500 volunteers. They're not even incorporated. When we went to one shelter, Sophie looked at it. She was like, yeah, they hang the Taiwanese flag. I don't know if they do that for us, and if they're gonna take it down once we leave, but she's like, it's there. And I was like, well, it's good to have it,
Do you feel that in a way, though, there is almost a little bit of pride or increased recognition of Taiwan because of all these donations? Granted, that's never the reason for doing this.
I can only speak for my own point of view when I was there. It definitely felt good to be taken around shelters and asking these shelter owners, I'm like, what has Taiwan done? They're just like, oh yeah, Taiwan's done a lot. How do you not feel that connection, right? Taiwan's where I'm from, and then when you say Taiwan's been represented well in a place like Poland where I've never been, and I don't imagine Taiwan has a very large footprint in Poland, but when they do that, and you say, oh wow, this is a place you're unfamiliar with, but people receive Taiwanese people well, that's a good feeling, no matter where it is.
Taiwan's also not a stranger to helping out in terms of foreign aids, with the foreign disasters, whether it's an earthquake or tsunami that might hit. And you've been covering news for a while now. Can you tell us a little bit more about Taiwan's general sense of foreign outreach and foreign help?
Let me raise an example. With the Turkey-Syria earthquake happened this time, Taiwan sent like a rescue team there within like 6-8 hours, I think, of the earthquake happening.
昨天晚上呢，是我们也在第一时间在救灾的黄金时间那我们成立了台湾国际搜救队，那有40名的先遣队员在昨天晚上已经出发。
Another 50 personnel and 2 search and rescue dogs were sent on Tuesday morning. Taiwan's foreign ministry said that Turkey sent immediate help after Taiwan's deadly earthquake in 1999. It said that now it's Taiwan's turn to lend a hand.
Because of that was ingrained in our culture's collective memory. And then Taiwan, when it came time to help Turkey, Taiwan's like, yes, of course, Turkey was the first one to come help out. And you think you're making all of these impressions abroad. People remember that, even 20 years after the fact, they're still remembering that. And I think that's true for any country. And I think Taiwan realizes, there's goodwill is returned. Not to say we do this with an expectation that things are gonna come back to us in a good way, but it's important to know that you're contributing, you're doing good out there. I think the nature of Taiwanese people, we're very, I don't want to say kind and warm-hearted, but we're empathetic. We're empathetic is what we are. We can say, okay, we can relate to a lot of things and be like, oh yeah, we got some bad earthquakes too, and that's bad. Or in the case of Ukraine, it's like, oh yeah, we are threatened by a larger neighbor, and Ukraine might be further down the road than that, but they also know that we can empathize with that feeling and be like, this is what we want to help. This is what we want other people to do. So you have to set that example first, and that's why it's there, right? It's the people that matter, and does it have tangible effects? That's what you want to know.
Well, thanks for your time.
No worries, man.
Yeah. All right, that's a wrap.
Great job.